we'll go ahead and get things started. And like I said before, welcome to today's AMA with the growth pillar. We're going to be going through some different things that a few of our departments are working on, and then, of course, we'll be taking some questions. But before we get to that, we're going to look at Frisky Fox to get us started with a little state of the project.
Thank you, Bolon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Sounding good.
Awesome. Yeah, wow, it's been a busy week and a very interesting week. It's always crazy here in the crypto space, and last week was sort of an extra level of crazy. With, like we saw a lot of interesting things in like the wider like market space. Some of the top 10 coins had issues, and that's one of those things that nobody could have really foreseen. It really was eye-opening to see something like that. From the standpoint of our project, we also had a really busy week. We launched the Gen Zero reroll at the start of last week and had a lot of people take advantage of that. I think it's a really cool way of sort of like rebalancing the gene pool when we had that expansion. We also did Stone Carver, which was a really big feature that we'd been working on for a while to add additional utility to like gold and some of our other items. And we saw a huge response to that in terms of how many players were actually using that. We saw like a lot of gold burned from that, as well as like a lot of items were consumed for that as well. So I'm really excited about that because it's really driving the kinds of tokenomics that we want to push in terms of adding additional utility and demand to the items that are out there. And that's sort of like the pattern that we'll be taking for basically all of our upcoming features, is having a like really close look at what kind of behavior is this new feature driving. Is it adding new utility and demand for like our items and things like that? Speaking of like the market, though, again, we've made a lot of strides in the entity that we're setting up for Kingdom Studios. It's all set up now. We've got people starting to like transition over there, and part of that transition is going from more of a contractor basis to more of a traditional style like relationship with an actual entity. So in that like realm, we're also adjusting things like how we do payroll and things like that, being very cognizant of the competitive nature of like this environment, and ensuring that we're able to pay like above market rate to our employees, while also ensuring we have enough like runway to basically make it through whatever the market throws at us, whether it's up or down or sideways, for however long. We're basically setting ourselves up to be able to stay here and build throughout anything. And we're very serious about ensuring that we have like the runway and the setup to do so, because I've always been saying this all along, but just like reiterating now, it's all of the projects that are able to stick it out and to build that are able to like essentially like be in a position where they can reap the rewards of the market when it comes back strong. You look at all of the strongest projects that are out there, and they are able to weather these storms, and we will be one of those that stands apart from the rest, and that we can stay here and like weather that as well. So we're very serious about that, and really careful and conservative with our spending there as well. So, let's see what else happened. We have some things that are underway, hard at work. We're currently full steam ahead with duels. We have it pretty far along right now, and I'm actually really excited about duels because it's going to have a like matchmaking, I guess, functionality that's built into it, which is kind of tricky to do on the blockchain, but I think that our approach to it is very cool, and I'm excited to see the response to that. It'll sort of like auto balance and help to kind of like match you with others that are of equal skill, and then having like rewards and things for those, which will be like really fun as well. I'm excited to start to duel. That's a thing I've been waiting a long time for. Also, pets is a really big one, and we're getting really close to that. So our team is just basically full steam ahead on those two initiatives, and you'll see those in the short term. I think those are the main two from the building side. I know this AMA is more from the growth side, and they have a lot of exciting things to share as well. And I'll have some more thoughts to share at the end, but that's it for me for now. Thanks, Bola.
Thank you, sir, as always. And up next, we've got Dreamer.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I guess just to add on a couple of the comments. So I've mentioned, I think last week and maybe even the week before, solvency analysis is something that's really important, and we've been focused on it a ton. Last week was a wild week. I think if somebody would have asked me last week if I thought it would be a crazy week relative to prior weeks, I would have been like, it can't get much crazier. It got a lot crazier. A lot of things happen out in other projects and other protocols that maybe some people saw coming, maybe some people didn't. All we could do though is to look at how we can take care of our ecosystem, our community, our tokens, and a lot of that came down to being really intentional about our budgets and our people and what we're prioritizing and our roadmap. And I'm just really proud of the team and the community. One, the team for putting in the time and having the support and understanding to adjust, because there's a lot of things we just can't control in the world. And as we can't control them, we look towards the things we can. And I'm excited to continue to build and grow, and just grateful for the community to, for all the positive comments and for the good questions and the understanding. We really need to look at this environment and say, if we can survive, if we can build, and we can position ourselves relative to others that may not be making the same type of decisions that will promote longevity in their projects or consistent progress in their projects. Think about, coming out on the other side. It's not only how much can DeFi kingdoms do on their own during the, quote unquote bear market, but how much can we do relative to others? And where does that set us up, in the future? At one point we did hit top 100 tokens. What does this mean as we continue to build through, let's say, an extended bear market? Could you look at it as silver lining? Is this actually good for us if we're able to deliver content while maybe other projects are slower or slowing down, or, sadly some, falling off and, and dealing with their own struggles? There's definitely a silver lining to all this, all very exciting. And it's important to stay positive and supportive of each other. Another thing that happened last week, I think, Fox, I'm not sure if you mentioned, but just wanted to note here, there was a gardens rebalance with everything that was happening. So there are ways that we can, react to events. I think in the policy it actually talked about, and when there is heightened volatility or other, drivers that, again, we don't have control over, what do we have control over? And part of that was, I think, initially reducing and then removing emissions from the Jewel Luna pool for current events that I'm sure everybody here is aware of. If not, you should go look up the background there and see how that is progressing. The Kingdom Builders program, I think, has been an area that Sunbear's going to talk about here in a while. It's something I'm really excited about in the theme of, building in a bear market, building with the community and getting content not only natively, but through that program and then through our potential partners is all something that I think will be very beneficial in this overall time period and theme of, building in the bear. We're looking at other partnerships progressing as well. DeFi protocol is still progressing. It is contingent a bit at DFK chain to make sure we have price oracle. So those discussions are progressing. We're looking at all the different options there. There are some AAA games that have been reaching out to work with us in kind of a consultant capacity, or even potentially consider building on DFK chain as they convert their AAA games to Web3. So that's kind of been an interesting new direction that we will be pursuing as options come up as well. There's data analytic programs as well that are interested to partner with and work with us or collaborate with us. That could be something in the form of, you go to the trader in the marketplace and potentially see a third party, software or a miniature version of their analytics popping up there. So, pursuing that to add to the overall DeFi value add in the trading and, marketplace aspect of the game. Pets is going to be really cool for partnerships, I think. There's so many other games out there that do have some type of animal or pet that is portrayed in their games. You've hinted to that in the past. A good, cross-platform ability to integrate NFTs is pets. So as we get closer to that date, I'm excited for our own pets. I'm excited for all the other projects out there and other games that we might be able to see some cross-platform integration and everything that comes with it. So that's kind of a preview to the growth AMA here. We have marketing, we have events, we have creative, and we have impact initiative on as well. So Bolon, I don't know if you're going to kick it off with a little bit of community, but I'll hand it over to you to go through our awesome growth team we have on.
Absolutely. I'm actually going to volunteer Pieface to go first and kick it off with some creative. People are more interested in what she does anyway.
Hey, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Let's hope Discord behaves. Hi, everybody. So yeah, in the creative department, we've been busy. We've been, as always, supporting marketing with getting graphics going. But we've still been in the merch realm. And like I shared before, the lineup for the first drop, we confirmed it. So expect some of what we've given out at events, but also some new exclusive items. And the update is that we've been working on getting some samples and working on logistics. And just to start things off with a bang, I'm going to share an AMA voiceless chat. Let me drop this. I'm teasing some, let's see, let's get this loaded. Right, let's go. Tote bags, which are pretty freaking sweet. It was some pretty awesome inspiration that came through, and Mother Brain helped design these, and they're it's pretty exciting. But in terms of merch, I do want to get direct feedback from you guys, just because it's everyone always says like we want the merch, but I kind of want to know more specific demands on items. And so just be on the lookout for like a survey or a way to source feedback later this week, because I'd love to get not only, maybe some inspo, but kind of what you guys actually really, really want. Because I know there's a campaign going on with the fanny packs, and that's definitely in the works. We've got some pretty awesome stuff that's been shared in our internal communications, but yeah, so that's the merch. And then for Kingdom Studios, as we've shared and, even had some of us docs, we'll be updating the website. I know that's been, people are kind of waiting on that. But the update will have, a more extensive About Us section, information about events and announcements. And our team section will be expanded to, have you guys get to know us better as doxed individuals, but also including some pages on policies as well. But yeah, and then the next item I have to share is that we are working on some album art, and that's for Spotify. So much long awaited is to be able to jam to the beautiful music that Sam has created. So we'll be uploading some original soundtrack items, but we've been working on that with marketing though, and with Sam. So if Bolon, you don't mind, I turn this over to Poppy, who can, talk more about marketing.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Poppy. I feel like I should introduce myself because I haven't been on an AMA. But yes, so Pi was just talking about our soundtrack that's coming out with the amazing music from Sam. So that you can look out for later this month on Spotify. They're making some beautiful album art. And that just kind of brings us into a lot of what the marketing team has been working on, which is getting all this great information and content from all the other departments and trying to make sure we get it out to you guys. So starting with this music, and we're getting some more content from lore because I know everybody wants to learn all that. We also, last week we had a Twitter space with Synapse where Mr. Fawn spoke about hero bridging, and that was awesome. So we're definitely trying to plan a lot more of these digital events so that people who aren't making it to live events can still hear from the team and find out all this information. We've also, I know that Spicy mentioned in a previous AMA that we were trying to get our like Twitter verification. And one of the things that we needed for that was more like legit news articles about us. So if you didn't see it, there was a Forbes article from this weekend that mentioned how great this GameFi community is and our community in general. So that's a great step towards that. We've also created an official Kingdom Studio LinkedIn page that we're getting set up. We've got a few tutorials coming out this week for those of you who don't know how to play on mobile, just to help guide you in that if you're wanting to start playing on mobile. And then we're also in conversations with Avalanche and Coinbase to work on some other educational tutorials for you guys. And then I guess the next thing is some of the marketing team is going to be in Austin for Decentral and Consensus. So we are excited to meet everyone, but we'll let Risen talk more about that. And I think that's it from me.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Poppy. Apparently Risen wasn't just going to take that cue for me, so I'll pick on him and actually call him out. Risen, you're up next, buddy. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Hey, there you are. We got you.
I started talking, but apparently I didn't have the ability to speak. So I was trying, Bolon. I picked up the cue as it being passed. The baton was being passed to me. How you doing, guys? I am on the side of the road in some undisclosed location in Florida, headed down to our next event. We are headed down to Permissionless this week, and as you guys know, also, we are finishing up the plans for Decentral and Consensus, where we will be in Austin next month. I also did want to mention that there will be Chaos Casts coming out. We will be announcing them in the next day or two, just working on some finalities for it. You might see some familiar faces like our own Sam, our composer. You might see some, if I can get the green light for some stuff, maybe we see some features, maybe some first looks at some things. Or at the worst, you'll see me and Bolon down at Permissionless. We'll figure out a way to be able to get you guys involved and show up there as well.
I'm sure they'll be sad.
That's about all I got for the moment.
I'm sure they'll be sad to see our faces as always. I know,
I feel like I'm glad everybody, like, we had so many of our team members and everything with all the doxing, but now we have to share the spotlight, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I liked it when it was just like me and Bolon out on video and could be the spotlight of every Chaos Cast. Now people are going to show up and actually show their faces. It's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I think it's a good thing. So now I am going to take a moment, talk about community for a second. First and foremost, as always, just love you guys. Really excited for both Permissionless essentially now, as well as Decentral and Consensus in a couple weeks. If y'all are in those areas, come meet us, come get some merch, come hang out with us, say hi. But really the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about is just the fact that, no matter what happens with the market and everything going on, in addition to always building, we're always focused on our community. We're always focused on you guys, and we're always focused on keeping this environment that we have, that we're lucky enough to have. And now it's more important than ever. There's so many people who come into DFK and they hear Sam's music and they see our beautiful art, and they see the different gameplay features, and then they join our community, and it just solidifies all of their first impressions that we have this community that's as friendly and as helpful and as supportive as ours is. That we've said it before, and I'll say it again, I've never seen anywhere else. And so I really just wanted to reemphasize that of, in these times, it's more important than ever, because as we continue building and as things start to grow again, we're going to see these new faces joining our community, and that welcoming that we've shown 90,000 people is going to keep them coming and keep them staying and keep them joining us and becoming a part of this project long term, just like all of us are. So I just really wanted to take a moment to just highlight the importance of that and how much of an impact it has. I know any of y'all that hang out in Discord have seen countless people say, I've never seen a community like this in crypto. And it's just accurate. Neither have I. And it's a beautiful thing. So appreciate all of you as always. And with that, I'm going to stop talking and hand it over to Sunbear.
Thanks, Fulham. Hey, everybody. What do we do in a bear market? We look for some light. We look for the sun and we build, and that's what we're doing. So I'm going to give a report on kind of the state of our new building program that launched about a week and a half ago. The format that we used for the build site, it's called Discourse, I think is working out quite well. If you haven't checked it out, please do. We've had just over 35,000 views in the last week and a half, about 255 likes on different posts. We currently have 7 active proposals that are posted and up and are under review and receiving feedback at the moment. So you can expect to see those progressing in the next couple of weeks toward community vote. And we also have a couple channels on there that are focused on 2 different things: on collaboration for devs in the community, where maybe they're wanting to build a team around a different idea, or they're saying, hey, I've got these skills, where can I contribute? Things like that. And also the brainstorming channel, where we've actually sent quite a few of the folks from consultations where they're just like, they've got ideas, they're not quite sure how the community will respond to them, or they want to flesh them out more, and they've gone into the are going to the brainstorming channel to really put some of those out there and get feedback from you all. So lots happening there. It looks like most people are going in and viewing at the very least, and there's also quite a few people that are signing up and offering feedback and consulting with them. So really feeling good about that. Let's see. On the charity, I want to talk first about consulting. So we've also got this channel where people can consult with myself and with Piano Man about the grant program, and quite a few people are coming in just like learning how to do it, getting some guidance on how to prepare a submission, things like that. Or maybe they've already got one written and they're seeking feedback there. Or sometimes just wanting to really brainstorm. It's kind of been all over the place with those things. But one thing I just wanted to mention is meeting you all in these spaces for folks that we've met with so far. We've done just over 12 or 13 of them so far and have several more scheduled this week. Almost everyone's on camera. Everybody has been like super excited about building right now, even with the way the market is. I think they really enjoyed, like one person said, hey, Sunbear, with his camera on, my camera on, I mean Christian, so really enjoyed kind of the doxing piece of that. I've just been really feeling inspired by the energy of the folks that are wanting to build on DFK blockchain, on our game, and collaborate with us. So I just wanted to share that piece with you. Another update on the charity side. So the community did vote up the two charities in particular, the Wolf Dog Rescue and Project Beloved. So you will see in the next week or so that we're going to put those up as our charity areas of focus. We're going to do it a little different this time. So I'm excited to announce that we're going to do a raffle, one in Sarandale, one in Christabel for each, for each of these charities. And it's going to be for a Gen Zero in each one. And so in Christabel, you'll have a Gen Zero from Christabel. And in Sarandale, you'll have one of the original Gen Zeros from Sarandale. So really excited about that. You'll be able to go in and purchase a raffle ticket. One raffle ticket will be like one jewel in Sarandale and one crystal in Christabel. You can buy as many of them as you want. And then we'll raffle those off at the end of June. Also, a little side bonus, we will be adding 5 pet eggs as follow-up, or runner-ups, to that raffle. So some exciting news there. And I think maybe people are just really excited about pets, and that's why they voted up the Wolf Dog Rescue. So I don't know. I think that's kind of fun as well, that it relates to our upcoming feature coming out. And that is all from me. We'll just keep building.
Awesome. Appreciate you as always, Sunbear. We are going to be moving to some live questions. However, before we do that, I did source a question from the chat, which I think is probably going to be a question for Fox, and I know he walked away to answer his door real quick. Fox, are you back? He is not. All right. Well, we're going to move to our first live question then, and then we'll go back to that one. But I'm going to start inviting some people up on the stage. As always, I'm going to pull a couple people up at a time. Once we get up here, if you would please mute your mic until we are ready for your questions so we don't have a bunch of background noise, and we'll see what we got going on. So with that, here to kick us off, Metas. How's it going?
Hey, awesome. Glad to hear you guys. I have a few questions just in terms of vision and the next few steps and everything. It's been really exciting to hear the steps you're taking and the new content you're working on and all of those things. And all of that sort of got me thinking in terms of the roadmap that is currently being portrayed outwards. I mean, I have 100% of understanding that this roadmap was published before, as we've discussed earlier, different opportunities arise, and you as a team and I as a company needed to take specific steps. And I think that's absolutely fantastic news for the project. I'm just wondering if you're considering either reworking the roadmap or adding a lot more detail in there, as we've been discussing, the new content you've been working on for multiple AMAs now, and it isn't really visible anywhere else beyond the AMAs. And I just would hope that it would show a bit more prominently, if that's a possibility, of course.
When you say the new content, are you saying, so there's clearly the roadmap of the native game, which I think we're obviously looking to update, but then there's all this stuff outside of that isn't as present in that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so in general. So for example, the old roadmap was more based on this fact that you guys were a team developing specifically only in-game content. I mean, for example, it only notes pets, and the next step is buildings, and the next step is equipment. And for Christabel, it had the same kind of idea. But right now, you guys are working on so much more new things. For example, the fact that the quest system got entirely reworked in the background, the fact that you're working on PvP duel or duel arena or whatever the exact name is. It's completely different from what actually PvP might be. So I think all of these new steps are extremely interesting. And obviously you don't want to pin yourself to a specific date. I completely get that. But you guys are working on so much, and I just think it's worth to get the word out there that you're building and building and building.
Yeah. So I know that the task force right now is working on a really cool launcher that is sort of akin to what you see in other games, where you log in and it has a pop-up with some of the latest happenings and such, and some of the upcoming things as well. We'll start to be using that a lot more. And for the roadmap, we're also in the works right now of sort of creating a completely revamped, reimagined roadmap to put out that has a lot more details. So yeah, I fully agree. Those are very important things. Like we are doing a ton of stuff, especially with like the integrations with like other third parties into our DFK chain. What we're trying to do more of is sort of creating like a metaverse place where other projects can come and build as well. So the supporting efforts for those will also be on the roadmap as well.
Awesome. Look, I'm really looking forward to those updates. It will be really, really great to see those. Another completely different topic, and I think that you guys almost hit on it today a little bit, but I was wondering, like, while it shows a great deal of confidence that the team has their funds in Jewel, and this also strengthens a narrative how also like all in-game prices are internally linked to the power tokens and not their underlying value. I think that's a great message. But does the price action, which you guys can't directly control, of course, does that affect the capacity of the team in a significant way? In other words, would you ever reconsider the strategy of keeping all of your different funds in Jewel? Or is this like an inherent and unchanging part of your vision? And just to make sure, I'm not advocating for either option. I'm just wondering about what the vision is for you guys long term.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with it having pros and cons, like for using like one mechanism versus another. Up until now, we have been basically doing most of it in jewels, but we also have some funds that are set aside in other currencies, and we're trying to sort of make that more of a priority to have those there, so that we're able to respond and like essentially like react in the best way during any kind of market. So as we move to Kingdom Studios is more of a studio that operates in the United States, and has, like payroll and all that type of stuff too. So we'll still be using Jules for a lot of things, and for like a lot of like contractors and things like that. But there will be some that will be more in like traditional fiat, or like we might have to pay for, servers and things like that. So having a treasury in sort of like all of the above is a very smart move for us, and we are pursuing that, and also building out those treasuries so that we're able to, essentially like react in the best way during any kind of market is also part of our plan, as well as just like being a lot more thoughtful with our spending and ensuring that everything that we are spending on has the best ROI for the project itself as well. Like just really concentrating on those things with the biggest ROI is also huge.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it really makes sense, especially when you guys are moving into like Kingdom Studios to, as you say, have like a two-pronged approach in terms of funds. Really cool to hear a vision about it, and I'm looking forward to the update. One more like smaller question perhaps, because I expect you guys can't speak a lot to this, but it's a question I think a lot of people have on their minds. It sort of indirectly relates to the new Gen Zeros being launched, and with that, the new hero tree being launched. And while not trying to delve into the mechanics of that, I was wondering if you can speak somehow to like the expected timeline, and obviously no commitments here, but to what like the expected timeline would be for the new expansions, as that would allow you to expand the new hero tree and give a bit more long-term value perhaps to those Gen Zeros, or if that's not necessarily the focus at this point.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question, because like the first 8 like hero classes that were launched represented the ability to make both advanced and elite, and I think whatever we called the one above that's slipping my mind right now. But yeah, like having the latter 8 be like released will unlock an extra level on top of those as well. I can't speak with a definitive voice for the timeline, I guess, but I can say that like we are trying to balance really fleshing out the game and the lore and the features with expanding, so that it's not just all one or all the other. And we've just had our Crystal Veil expansion, which was huge, and now we're adding some more features, and then we're going to go back to expanding, and so it'll just kind of go back and forth. We're going to try to do some at the same time too. It's a lot easier to do the second expansion than it is to have like the first one because it kind of paves the way. But I would like to see all 8 of those like newer classes out, in a reasonable amount of time. Our project is still under a year old and already has an expansion, but like you'll probably see one every half a year or so. I would imagine is kind of the pace we're targeting. Don't quote me on that because obviously we're trying to do trying to prioritize the things that add the most ROI at any given time. And right now that is adding a bunch of new features like duel and combat and travel. And then a lot of those will also play into the expansions as well.
Absolutely awesome. Really, really great talking to you guys. Thank you for making the time every week. I'll probably see you guys next week.
Thank you, Metas.
Metas, if we don't see you next week, I'm just going to tag you on repeat until you join us. Real quick before we move to the next question live, Fox, there was a question that I had pulled from chat for you, and I promised to put you on the spot with it, so I apologize in advance. But a few people were wondering if there was any update on the thought process behind a standalone mobile app for DFK.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about that for a long time, honestly. There's some really cool plugins out right now for Unity that integrate with the blockchain, and we have some on our team that are really good with Unity, and so they've been starting to experiment with the combat system and things like that. Obviously, you can still play our game through MetaMask on your phone. But having a standalone app, I think, would be amazing, and I think it's a thing that we for sure want to do. It's just a question of when that fits into our timeline still, and what the ROI on that is as well. Sort of coming back to the point I made just now about trying to basically focus on the highest ROI, highest priority, most impactful things at every step of the way will be what sets us apart as a project and what will eventually, lead to us to be the the largest one out there for GameFi, which is our goal.
Awesome. Appreciate the update. Like I said, a few people were just curious of what the mentality these days around it was, so glad to hear that. I think that would be super cool. I'm excited for it because I want to play up on my phone more. With that, we'll go back.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was just gonna say, I fully agree. It's also a really good marketing and user acquisition approach too, because just having an app in the App Store, you'll get a lot of newer people into the game that wouldn't have otherwise even tried it. So there's a lot of opportunity there that I'd like to pursue.
Ease of access. Link, I might have mispronounced your name. Sorry if I did. How are you?
I am fine. Can you guys hear me? Actually, I was going to ask about the mobile game, but you guys just answered it. So I'm going to go to the next question. My question is on the next expansions. I really like the new characters that we got, but I was hoping that maybe you guys can focus more on heroes that would grasp maybe the Asian markets, maybe have samurai heroes. Can you guys give any details as far as any type of further expansions?
I probably shouldn't give very specific details, but I can say that we've thought along those very similar lines of having sort of themes for our expansions. Obviously, this one that we just did was more of a ice, sort of a northern barbarian sort of a theme, but other expansions will have other themes, and so you'll see things similar to those. I've seen some of the class lists that we have planned, and I can say that there are for sure some of those traditional Asian style themed classes as well.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bless, what you got for us today?
Hey, everybody. Bless here. Appreciate your time, and also thank you everyone for all your continued work on this project. In regards to the building program earlier, I love the new building program. I believe it's giving the community a voice to what they would like to see happen within the DFK future, and what is more important than the voice of the community, in my opinion. Thank you for allowing the community the opportunity to build alongside Kingdom Studios. My question today would be, how much of a priority is the building program in the grand scheme of the DFK platform? And will community ideas compete with a AAA game, or will it compete with the AAA game platforms that Dreamer had mentioned earlier?
I'm not sure I have the full answer. I'm interested in hearing what other people think on this as well. I think probably Dreamer has some thoughts, but I can say that the build program has been one of my highest priority things since the very start, in terms of making sure that we provide the tools for those in the community to build like third-party sites that will analyze and provide data and like stuff like that, but then also being able to integrate with the game itself, I think is one of the coolest things that will be made possible by the blockchain, sort of like a Ready Player One style setup, where I could create a program and put it on the blockchain and have its own like rules and like economics, but have it still interact with other existing assets and like NFTs. Really, that's what all of the apps are these days, is you have apps out there that are interacting with Ethereum and Bitcoin and Harmony One and Jewel. But interacting with NFTs is a thing that we haven't seen a lot of yet. I think there's a huge untapped opportunity there in the market, and we have an amazing, really smart community dev group that is really poised to start to build some of those things. So I would say, just from that standpoint, it's a very high priority for me. In terms of competition with like the game itself, I see it as additive, not competitive. Anytime you see sort of like websites out there that try to control the entire narrative themselves and don't open up to the community devs, they're not going to be as successful as those that are more about creating a platform that others can build on, is my 2 cents.
Yeah, and I'll just add a little bit to that. I mean, if you take all three, I'll call them business lines, building lines, I'm not sure what the right word would be. We have like our native building that's very like native employee, like core team employee intensive. Then we have the like the grant program, the Kingdom Builders program, where we have 2 people allocated, Sunbear and Piano Man, to facilitating that. But that's really mainly driven by the community building on their own, maybe getting some consultation, presenting their plan to the community ultimately voting on it. We're just facilitating that process. So the amount of like Kingdom Studios resources that will take up is significantly less than building out our native features. And if we think of like potentially other games, whether they're blockchain games or AAA games that are going to integrate into the space, kind of a newer area where there's some established games out there, or some established studios that are reaching out they don't even know where to start. So we're providing services to, maybe you could use DFK tokens in your game. Maybe, you have something that could be reflected as a pet. Maybe we could talk about maybe a promotional pet and working together. You have NFTs. Those NFTs maybe can be used as a profile picture. You could use some of our tokens and burn them. So it's really a similar role as we're playing in terms of consulting with the community or consulting with other established games. So I don't see a whole lot of competition between those three different lines. There are some resources that overlap, kind of on the biz dev side. I know that on the Solidity side, Solidity will touch all of that, and Mr. Fawn is super bullish on, I'm sorry, I'm speaking for him, but he's expressed a number of times, super bullish on the grant program, build program, on working with partners on DFK chain. He was instrumental in getting that set up. And I know that he has, similar, very long-term focus on the potential there. So I think a lot of resources kind of operate independently there, but there are some overlapping, and we are careful to make sure they don't none of those 3 lines gets deprioritized to the point of no progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I appreciate your feedback, Fox and Dreamer, on the clarifying the information on the building program and how it relates to those other facets, as you mentioned, that they're kind of different entities, and you're looking all essentially equally, but they do overlap on the business side. I think there is a lot of good feedback on the building program. I think it's working extremely well for the time period that it's been released. I personally have a submission on there, and there's been site feedback. I've also already been in meetings with Sun Bear and Piano Man. It was great to see them face to face and be able to talk to them, and hope to see a lot more interaction on the build website. That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
And I just wanted to say, Les, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for the questions. And just to reiterate what both Fox and Dreamer said, like, yes, it is a priority. It's one of our main priorities. I am fully dedicated to this. Piano Man is as well. And Fawn, I just was messaging with him, and he just was talking to me about a site that we're building to help support developers, and how we'll have people in a channel to help support developers that are, going through this program. So we're constantly figuring out how to do this well. And I just want to say to the community as well, got to meet with Bless, great person, really excited about what he's putting out there. And even the other person on here, Coolio, met with him recently too. So some great community-driven proposals coming up.
Awesome. Appreciate you all. And Bless, thanks for coming up and asking the question. And speaking of Coolio, Coolio, what you got for us?
Hey guys, how's it going? First question I had with you guys were talking about, I think Pieface was talking about marketing a little bit. You guys were talking about AAA games and Spotify, and you're kind of expanding out into the world in a sense. Now, as income, I guess, picks up for Kingdom Studios, I was just kind of wondering how, if at all, that would affect the price of Jewel, which I don't know if it would, but also I would imagine that you guys would possibly move that into kind of like a side fund for salary or different things like that. You know what I mean? Because not just the price of Jewel, I don't think, for giving salary to, everybody who's currently working, but is that kind of your vision for like working with these third-party sources and things?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways to look at it, and we don't control exactly how everything will go. So there's going to be some learn and adjust as we go mentality at play here. But you mentioned merchandise. So let's get our merchandise store up. We make sure we survey the community, make things people actually want to buy and will follow through and buy. Therefore, it's profitable and worthwhile, self-sustaining business line. Where does that go? Well, that would be an additional, business line for Kingdom Studios outside of Jewel. That's a huge benefit. So there's multiple benefits there that I won't go into, not only from like a overall profitability standpoint, but just in terms of risk management as well. There's the potential of as we work with other projects or games and helping provide consulting services. Maybe we're doing that so that they build on DFK chain. Maybe we're doing that in exchange for, actual fees for services directly with Kingdom Studios. That could potentially, isn't currently, but could potentially develop into its own self-sustaining business line as well that fully synergizes with the building within the, the DFK metaverse, the chain, and so on. I would say anything in-game that's like Jewel or Crystal based, that isn't really going to change, right? There's the white paper outlines how fees are distributed to certain wallets. Those wallets help with salaries. And depending on, where we are in the cycle, may fund running of the chain, certain expansions and other kind of discretionary allocation of those funds. So I want to say that I hear what you're saying, and you're right. There's going to be different lines of revenue over time, and we'll just have to continue to adjust at where the best ROI is for the time and money spent for each. I don't know, Fox, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, just sort of the same type of thing. There's a lot of different lines. We do want to basically put everything that we're doing towards continuing the success of the project. And so there's a lot of stuff that we can be spending that on, whether it's the chain or like marketing or salary or, you know, like whatever that ends up being. There's all kinds of stuff there and like opportunities for us to use those funds.
I guess I didn't directly comment on like how it would affect Jewel. I would be careful speculating, but I would just say no matter what the business line is through Kingdom Studios, I think there will always be a focus on adding value to the existing, self-sustaining in-game economy that we're creating, the value of heroes, the utility of Jewel and Crystal and other minor tokens. So as the other games do come and ask for consulting services, we will have incentive to, work with them to build on DFK chain, finding ways to integrate tokens into our game, their tokens into our game as well, or the other way around. So I just want to emphasize that although it may not, I don't know of like a direct impact on Jewel, there is a focus for all of our other business lines that may come up to add value to the community, to the gameplay, to the utility, and overall tokenomics.
Okay, yeah, that answers that perfectly. I think the last question I had was, have you guys committed to the next blockchain? And if you have, which one is it?
That's a real good question there. We have some that we're very strongly considering. We're in talks with some places. We're not gonna be sharing that quite yet. We do want to make sure the time is right. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, Dreamer.
No, I mean, we have mentioned in previous AMAs like the possible options. I mean, right now we are on EVM compatible chains. There's only a limited number of chains out there you could expect. There's some chains that we would really like to work with at some time, or at some point that we're already in discussion. I think we've already commented on them. But I will just say, like, especially with everything we've seen last week and with the market we're in, we're not overly eager to expand too quickly. I think there are a number of lessons learned with other projects in doing so, especially in a market that we're in right now. So current priority is to really get third-party building, native building going, get some gameplay going, get a lot of value add, so that when we are ready to more aggressively move on to the second expansion and potentially third realm, there will be a huge platform to take it there. So if we think about when Serendale first came out, if we would have expanded right when we only had the decks to Avalanche, that would have not been the best use of time, right? But when we got heroes out, when we had questing, and we saw that roadmap that we could start over there, it made sense. And now we're kind of in this point again where we have to make sure that we don't start expanding before it is, I guess, necessary and ideal. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much. And we also never know what will happen from now until then. So I think we'll avoid giving any specific names, but there's some very clear ones out there that I'm sure people could guess that would be in sight.
No, that sounds very, very smart and very bullish. Focusing on what needs to be focused on. So just curious. Anyways, love you guys. Thanks so much for doing all you do, and keep it rocking.
Thank you, Coolio.
Appreciate you, Coolio. And I really liked that last question slide there. And just, hey, shoot your shot, right? Malliance, how's it going? Just for the record, actually, real quick, sorry, Malliance. We're going to do Malliance and one more question, and then we are going to have to wrap up for the day. Malliance, go ahead.
All right, so first of all, nice seeing you guys. I just wanted to, first question is to confirm that if a grant project wasn't exactly correlated with the DFK NFTs, but they were to build on the DFK chain and use Jewel as a gas fee and possibly like in-game items or in-game currency like gold, like that would also qualify as to part of the grant program?
Oh, absolutely. I think anybody from our community can bring forward an idea, and we're going to, the community is going to respond to it. We're going to consult on it. We do feel that need to make sure it's not going to disrupt or, cause a problem for the project, for the game itself. But we look at all that together. And that's why there's that consultation opportunity, and that's why we do this transparent from the beginning, so that we are thinking through all those things. But yeah, even an independent game that just wants to build on the blockchain or something, or is creating some kind of innovation, they are welcome to come in and apply for the system.
Yeah,
All right.
I just want to add on to that too. You know, like when you look at our project and sort of what we did for Harmony, not to like toot our own horn or anything, but a pretty large, significant amount of the transactions on this chain are from our project. And we want to build the kind of chain through the FK chain that is optimized for that kind of an application, and have those like utility essentially be added to Joule and to our other tokens. So if there's a project out there that's going to be built that will have all kinds of transactions be put through like that, our chain is the best one out there for that, and we want to attract those projects to come to our chain for that as well. So yes, for sure.
And like, I'll just add, like, I try to throw ideas out there, and I'm going to do so again with pets coming out. The amount of third-party application for pet NFTs is like unlimited. Like, there's so many cool mini games that people can make that is going to use those. So I hope people are thinking about that and are excited. For those that are thinking like, oh, I want to start or my own, whatever protocol that may be DeFi related or something else, the grant proposal could, implement that and request that there's the front end of the game, similar to what we're doing with banking and others. I think it's just, the goal is to add value to the overall experience, to the offerings, to add utility to the tokens, but it doesn't have to be all of the above. It could be a couple of those. If it's something completely unrelated to anything that we're doing within gaming, NFTs, DeFi, and just looking for a grant that serves a purpose that's completely inconsistent with DeFi Kingdoms, then I think the community would be the one to say this is consistent, right? We're trying to be like, I don't know, shepherds of the overall process without controlling every aspect of it. So I would just say, if there is something out there using gold's a DeFi Kingdoms ERC20 token, that's awesome. And I think that it would be a great candidate for a direct response to what you said.
All right. I appreciate that and the very different aspects of that as well. My second question is kind of more so in terms of moving to paying the team members in a salary position instead of with Joule. I think there's a lot of us here that feel like our devs and mods and everybody are friends, and like we care about them. Do we expect any like backlash or anything from this, or like has that been talked about? Like I feel like there's gonna have to be like probably a salary adjustment somewhere, and with that taking course, I love everybody on this project, and I don't want to see anyone leave.
Yeah, no, it's a insightful question. It would, like we are sort of like trying to change things up more to be more in line with market rates, but still be above market rate to be competitive. It's important that we keep the amazing people that we have. A lot of us are here for a number of reasons. Obviously, like the pay is good, but also we just love the project. We love to build here. I personally would be here at any price point just because, this is my dream, like creating a program like this has such unlimited upside to what it could possibly be. And we have very like ambitious and exciting plans and goals for this project. And that's part of it. Obviously, like we do need to stay conservative and stay able to survive any kind of extended like bear market. But trying to balance those two things is like really what we've been spending a lot of time meeting about with the directors and things internally as well. Yeah, that is on our minds. We're trying to ensure that we're able to keep all of the good people that we have.
Absolutely. And I was trying to think of a few concepts because I know that like there's a lot of things that with all the FUD going on that devs are kind of like looked at for doing. I know that there's been a ton of FUD campaigns in the last couple of weeks. And is there any aspects where we could see like because I think the best growth in the community is when everybody plays. Everybody is part of the game that wants to be, and if you're not able to have that aspect, it kind of takes away that fun as well. So is there anything that the team's looking for the staff to get if we're moving to that, as it kind of completely takes them out of the game or out of the actual project they're working on?
Yes, we have like policies about how and in what way the team can participate in the game. We do want to make sure that the team isn't ever in competition for like limited resources with the community, because we don't want to set the team against the community. Like, we're here as a partnership. We're here working together and to serve the community. But anything that is not a like limited sort of like thing like that, we for sure encourage our team to play and to invest and to have heroes and to have them do quests and all that type of stuff is like for sure a part of our dream there as well.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mally.
Appreciate you.
Valiance, thanks as always. And last question to wrap up our day is Thampulus.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for accepting me. And I originally had 2 questions, which became 3 after an answer you gave. But respecting everyone's time, I'm only going to ask one. So I'd really appreciate if you pick me up first on the next AMA. So I'd like to preface my question with stating that, I'm at this point working full-time, developing services, tooling, and content for DFK. And I am very grateful for having this opportunity, and basically DeFi Kingdom's changing my life. And under that scope, I'm going to ask a bit of a tough question in the sense of, you mentioned that you're all for the community is first, and everything like that. And the question is, what is it? What can you enumerate as actions that you perform for the community? And being an active player, I also have a lot of engagement throughout all of the game, the players, the mods, the developers, even Bolon and Frisky. And whatever feedback I gave through whatever channel, I never received any response of meaning. And this isn't kind of a complaint around, you don't respond to me. This is what I know firsthand, and I can elaborate and ask and, put you on the stand in a sense, because I've used the form, submitted questions, proposals, explicitly asking to hear back whether, either you agree or not. I never heard anything back. I've been pushing for a user voice, exactly for the user voice platform since December, stating that, the game has outgrew the weekly AMAs, which is the only lifeline that I know is considerable in terms of work towards the community, and it's the only thing that's keeping us on vibe. And this and user voice hasn't yet been completely deployed in the sense of how the AMA is conducted, at least. Okay, and that means that it's not the most popular question that get asked. It's certain individuals that get selected all the time, get the lion's share of the time, ask 3, 2, 4, 5 questions, get follow-ups, etc. It's like an interview. And I also had tried to go up the chain, starting from mods and upwards. I DM'd with Bolon, I DM'd with Frisky, I even emailed Frisky, never heard back. So that is my experience, and I don't want to jump into conclusions, but what gives? And was all those coincidences that were just experienced by me? Is it that the forms get responded to? Because from what I hear from the community, that's not quite the case. So what kind of actions can you enumerate that you perform to engage and empower the community? guilds?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm hearing a couple questions here. One of them is, what do we do for the community? And the other one seems like maybe the one you're more interested in is, how can we improve communication with the community? And, like, what do we do? Obviously, we build the project, which adds like utility to the assets and to the tokens and all that type of stuff. We also grow the project through the efforts of all of these people here. And we also maintain and sort of upkeep the community, which like the Knights and Bolon and all them are engaged in. And we kind of split up responsibilities like that. There's like certain people are in charge of building, certain people are in charge of like growing, and other ones are in charge of the community. And so sometimes when you message some people that aren't sort of like trying to focus as much on that as the other, then it might be slower to get a response than others. Like if you message any of our Knights, I'm sure you'd get a pretty immediate response. If you message me, although I did respond to a number of your messages, I think towards the start of last week or like last weekend, maybe it was, I see that I do have, I think, 5 unread messages from you. So, I do get a lot of DMs. I get a lot of emails. I try my best to keep up on them, but that's also a moving target. I think you hit the nail on the head with the like user voice. That's a thing we've been investigating more, especially over the last couple of weeks. And I think we're going to for sure be pursuing that. And I agree that the AMAs, while I think being some of the best communication I've ever seen in the crypto space with the community from the dev team, is a thing that we can always improve on as well with additional things like that with the user voice. So I think really just it's a question of what are we doing, how can we improve, and what steps should we take to get there. And we are always looking at that as well. I don't know if you want to add anything, Dreamer or Bolon, to that, but that's my 2 cents on that.
I would like to follow up on that, because the first thing that you mentioned was that basically the engagement, the way you understand the engagement is that you have built the product. And that doesn't really translate into the meaning of engagement with the community. Now, on the other hand, there wasn't a single night or more that I sent a message and didn't respond. That's true. The question is, how is feedback articulated and enacted? And the problem is that there's not, when you push the problem of engagement within codes of the community to the Knights, it's really not a concerted effort, as much in the sense that the user voice would be. So essentially, the community has no voice. And whenever a voice was heard, it was because of very certain minority that just had the loudest mouth. And I can tell you for sure that whatever happened didn't represent the majority. And you also saw that during the FUD campaign, where you asked for a vote of confidence, whereas the sentiment was Frank Frisky. 98% didn't want that, right?
Right. No, I think you're for sure right about that. Having the like user voice where you can more accurately see what the majority are concerned with and what issues are most important to them. That's actually the whole impetus behind like us saying, hey, like we need something like that, because again, as you say, exactly right. A lot of times it's the squeaky wheel in the community that is heard, but it's not necessarily something that most people feel. I can also say in terms of like, how do we handle feedback and communication? We have a channel in our Slack group where we have certain like members of the community, like the Knights, will basically come into our Slack and say, hey, here's this thing that's been sort of like receiving a lot of input or like a lot of question. And so if there's anything like that like we need to respond to, it ends up there in our Slack, and we do see a lot of things in there, and it helps to inform our decisions and stuff like that as well. But I fully agree that we need more
Yeah, this is anecdotal. I believe you understand that, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll add to it too. I think there's probably a lot of people that maybe have had your experience, and there's probably a lot that haven't. And I'd say, the other part of feedback is issues as we build. And Sashay, working with the Knights and Bolon on like the bug reports, I think that maybe the responsiveness on that side is a bit higher, because we want to make sure if there's any issue out there, where there's feedback from the community, we tackle that right away. And then after that,
I'm sorry, but that's not what I'm talking about. This is support. I'm not talking about support.
Yeah, so, but it is related to the community.
This is how you set up your support line and this kind of operation. It's entirely different from community engagement.
Sure, that's a fair view. Engaging the community and partnering with that is one aspect. The aspect that I'm hearing that I was trying to get to is, I think you're giving good feedback that at this stage of the project, we need to provide a similar level of resources and focus on the quality of the community engagement outside of support. Was my main comment that I was trying to make. I think the user voice suggestion is something that we've been trying. You'll see that on the charity ideas. That was through user voice. It's actually a really good suggestion, and it's something that we are trying out. I think there are other suggestions as well, probably in DMs and emails that we can see that you've submitted, that we can follow up with offline on how we can improve that as well. But as the project grows, so does our need to evolve in different aspects. And I think it's noted in this area where we could do better, and we'll look at ways that we can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Thampoulos.
All right. Appreciate it from all of you. Thank you, Thampoulos, for closing us out with a good question. At this point, I am going to give us just a second if anybody has any last-minute thoughts or anything they want to share, and then we'll go to Dreamer and Fox to close us out. So, Risen, Poppy, Pie, Sunbear, any closing thoughts?
Just really appreciate you. Great community, so much support is felt here, and super bullish on us on this project. We got this.
Oh, I thought you meant me specifically for a second. I was feeling really special, but that's okay. I appreciate them too. Risen, Poppy Pie? All right. Well, I love this community as well. Y'all are awesome. Dreamer, go ahead.
I know we are a bit over. I'm just grateful for all the questions that came in today. A lot of things that give us hope and are exciting, and a lot of people in the background, dealing with all the major market events that we all are, right? And I just am inspired by their ability to stay focused and to stay positive and continue to deliver content. It's not easy. It's not easy for any of us, to live in the world that we're living in right now and waking up to new news every day. But the community definitely gives the team that life blood or life force to keep going, keep building. Just as I'm sure when the community sees the releases and people hop in the Discord and see part of the team engage there, that it also gives that uplifting energy. So just wanted to thank both the team that, most of which isn't on this AMA today, and the community and everybody else that is supporting our efforts. The future definitely is bright.
Couldn't agree more. Fox, you want to take us home?
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, it's been a hard week in many ways in the crypto space, but it's also been an exciting week in many ways for our project. We had some really cool features get put out. We've got a lot more awesome, really fun ones planned as well. It's really cool to see just stepping back and sort of looking at where we're at now as a project versus where we were not even a year ago when we launched. If somebody came up to me and said, hey, you have the opportunity to be on this project that has 90,000 excited, smart, really great members of the community that are excited for every single thing that you guys release, and you have an amazing team that you're able to pay above market rates and have them be working on this thing that's so fun to build, and then having the brand that we've already built and having your own chain and all this stuff that we have going for us right now. It's just amazing to see how well positioned we are as a project, and like being able to just head into any kind of market and execute and add all kinds of like value and really fun features to this project. I'm really excited about what the future looks like for us. And having all of you here along on the ride is amazing. We have an amazing team, amazing community, and I just like to ask all of you to continue to, you know, like stay supportive and stay kind and stay excited, because we are as well, and we have a lot of fun things planned and we're going to go far. So with all that, I'll just end by saying bullish. Thanks, everyone.
Be bullish.
Bullish.
Bullish.